Hello and welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. I am in Leesburg with my radio partners and a special guest that we'll be talking to. It's all about veterans and veterans causes, and you know what? I'd like to introduce at this time the station manager, Mr. James Floyd, who allows us to come in here to do this recording, and he's also a very strong advocate for veterans. You want to tell about the radio station?
Well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to have you here. You've been by my side for several years now.
Yeah, I know.
We love our veterans. Even though I was never able to get into the military because of a bad eye, I have a heart for military. My friend Rob Newton used to do a show called Veterans Resource on the radio, and resources for veterans is what we try to find. It's not always just about a vet, but it's about ways to help them, because I don't believe they get enough for what they've been willing to do. So even though I wasn't able to serve, and Rob has now passed on, I spoke with Rob's sister and said, I'd love to do a full 1-hour radio show, and we'll make Rob the key point of it to keep his legacy alive. And she said that would just be awesome. So that's what we did. Ever since Rob's been gone, we put together a 1-hour show, and we've had a couple different sponsors. We've got another one that I think may be coming on soon. But the idea behind it is, how do we help our veterans do more? We're local radio. We do local weather, local news, local sports, and we love our veterans here.
And you do have a new part-time sponsor coming in, who is also our sponsor for our YouTube show.
Yes.
AmVets Post 2006 here in Leesburg.
Thank you to AmVets Post 2006. We love them. By the way, they're located at 500 North Canal Street in Leesburg if you want to go by and visit with them.
See, he knows how to do an advertisement.
That's pretty squared away, right?
But we have the honor of having a guest here today, a United States Marine, Eric Anderson, who has the SET
Spirit Equine Therapy.
Spirit Equine Therapy, and we're going to talk all about it. I had the opportunity to go out there and see the place, and I'll tell you what, you're going to love it. And also my radio partner over there, who's James, what's your name again?
John Cena.
John Cena.
You almost cannot Cena him.
So we're getting ready to start the radio, but I just wanted to introduce everybody for our YouTube show. And there's a lovely lady over there, but she doesn't work on my camera. I was going to say, don't miss Miss Sue. You wouldn't be nothing without her. She makes you look good. I know. I'm just a pretty face.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, well, we don't have John O'Kelly, but we do have our other part-time announcer, John Cena, with us.
Present.
John, I want you to introduce you to Mr. Eric Ryan Anderson. He is our guest today. And Eric is, well, you know what he was, right?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Marine Corps.
That's right.
Please explain.
So I was artillery, United States Marine Corps artillery, with the 1st Battalion, 12th Marines, and 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines. I did 3 Westpacks with them, 8 different countries, and had a really incredible career in the Marine Corps. Learned a lot of things about attitude, drive, esprit de corps, and brotherhood. The United States Marines, as everybody knows, you go to any town in any city in the United States, and you ask them who they want to guard their town or their city, and they'll tell you United States Marines. But if you ask them who they want to take their daughter to the senior prom, they'll tell you anything but Marines. That's just the way we roll.
Well, yeah, but I also know some Marines who said when they really got hairy, they called in the Air Force, okay?
They might have called them in. It was just to keep them out of the way because y'all are an obstruction. I'm just kidding, guys. We appreciate all that.
Oh, that was it for Eric. He won't be with us anymore. No, I'll tell you, Eric is a wonderful guy. I met him through James here. James gave me his name and talked about the Spirit Equine Therapy, and that's what I'm going to want him to talk about today. What's going on with that? When I heard about him, I went up and I visited your ranch, and I'll tell you, I was super impressed. I went up there with my daughter, one of my daughters, one of my granddaughters, and 2 of my great-grandkids, and they really loved the way you treated them, you know.
You know, young people, their spirit, when they're new, their spirit is new. Everything is great. They love being around people. They haven't been betrayed or lied to or beat up, or their whole world is what they see. And our job as adults is to groom spirits, is to help these young people thrive and become the young people that they can. And it is so cool when you're dealing with a clean slate. And those young people were really cool to be around. They had a really good time, and they didn't bring any scared to them. A lot of times people see a 1,200-pound horse and they're frightened immediately because people say, don't walk behind them. Get away from them, they're going to bite you. These young people didn't have any of that. They just came up and enjoyed these big horses like teddy bears, and we have pictures of them petting them and having a big time. They got to sit up on the horse, and we walked them around. They weren't comfortable with riding on their own, but the smile, the feeling you get when you see a young person smile like that, you can't buy that off the shelf at Walmart. That's something that comes from the heart and the soul. And boy, we get to do that with veterans. We get to do it with first responders. We get to do it with all kinds of people, because my horses are so incredible. You saw how they all came in. They all went to their own stalls.
Yeah, that amazed me. You know, you called them in, and they came in, and they went right to their own stall. You didn't have to tell them which one to go to.
No. And I always tell folks, consistency breeds discipline. So if you're consistent and you're patient, you will get that. They stand unbridled in the wash rack and get pressure washed. You saw some of that. We do everything we do with our horses is so they can be horses. I get asked sometimes, did you break that horse? No. Well, who broke it? It's not broke. I do not break a horse. In my opinion, breaking a horse's spirit is taking away who they are. I want them on my team as a teammate. And it's the same thing with young people, with children. A lot of times, you're going to do what I tell you, or I'm going to smack your face off, and then they look like Daffy Duck getting their face slapped off. Well, no, that's not how we need to handle that. We need these young people to do what we're asking them to do because they respect us. And you get that respect by being consistent, by being loyal, and using your integrity. And that's how I treat my horses as well. But thank you for having the kids out. I enjoyed that.
Well, yeah, and they really enjoyed it. You know, I mean, I was so happy for them, and they talked all day about it afterwards. You know, but I really love what you're doing. And I'd like to know a little bit more about what you're doing. But later on, we're going to talk about where you are, and also people wanting to come out and stuff. They have to call ahead and everything, because you have a thing where you just can't come into the place. You know, you have to sign a waiver, because you never know if they fall down or something, you know.
Right.
So, but anyway, later on, when you talk about it, if somebody wants to visit you or know more about it, you can tell them about it. But I want you to tell me how this all got started.
It's about 3.5 years ago. There's a place up in Umatilla called Code Horse. And they asked me if I would come up and do cowboy church and then do a horse demonstration. And I went up and did cowboy church, and then I did a horse presentation. Well, they had 2 doctors there, psych doctors. And we talked and we became friends. Well, fast forward about a year, and one of the doctors calls me and says, "Hey, Eric, we have a young lady that she's in a bad way. Her husband is in stage 4 cancer. He's being abusive to her, and we're not sure that she isn't going to commit suicide any minute." She goes, can we bring her out to you? I'm like, by all means, bring her out. Let's see what we can do. And the young lady gets out of her car, her and the 2 doctors, and they walk in. And when I say doctors, now they're not dressed in a little white coat or none of this crazy. They're just like normal people, believe it or not. And as we walk into the barn, I introduced the lady to my horses as we're walking down, and she said that she had ridden before. And I said, great. So I got a saddle and a pad and a halter and bridle. And I got Drifter out and put Drifter in the wash rack. And Drifter is a 17-year-old quarter horse. He weighs about, I would say, about 1,350 pounds, 1,400 pounds. Old boy's not missed a meal. Now, he's not fat as a tick, but he's well fed. Okay, you can tell he's healthy.
Kind of like John over there.
Well, I'm not going there with any of this. So I help her. We get her saddled. She didn't get everything exactly right, but you know, she's not doing her emotional world is a disaster. as we're walking out towards the round pen, and I have a round pen, pretty good sized round pen. And when I'm putting somebody in the round pen to ride, I do that initially so I can see how them and the horses are going to interact before I let them out in the obstacles and ride through the lake and in the arenas and all the different places that you saw you can ride there. But we start out in a round pen, kind of a get to know you, that cocktail hour before we have the big meeting. And I take her in, set her up on the horse. She's doing very well. Her and this horse are walking together. And when I say walking together, she's not just kicking him to make him go. They're moving together. So I can tell she's got some natural ability. They go into a little trot. Hey, this is nice. And then bumped him up into a slow lope, or what we call a canter. And she is rocking in that horse's saddle. And all of a sudden, it was like the exorcism. She just started crying, and it was crazy, the crying. It was ugly crying. And she's crying, and she's going around in the round pen, and I step out, and I close the door, and I got a doctor on each side of me. They said, "What's going on?" I said, "I have no idea, but God's got this." And we watched as this lady went around in that circle, and the tears are just blowing out of her eyes, and she's just losing it. And then all of a sudden, she broke down into a trot, into a walk, and she walked into the center of the round pen. And I'll tell you what, she was talking to me just like we're talking. It was a different person. And the doctors were like, wow, we've not seen this before. Mm-mm. Well, we see stuff like this, but it never really occurs to us what's going on. Since then, I've seen stuff like this happen with absolutely at least 30 different people. We'll do veterans retreats out. They'll sleep under that big tree by the round pen in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, because a lot of times guys and gals that have a post-traumatic stress issue have problems sleeping at night. Imagine getting out of your sleeping bag, out of your tent, sitting on a picnic table and petting a giant horse in the middle of the night. And a couple of these guys were telling me that they got to pet the horses in the middle of the night underneath the stars with the moon. That's God's send right there.
Yeah, it sure is.
We have been so blessed. And the things that I've learned since I've been doing this are incredible. I had a lady, I say a young lady, she's older than me, was out at my house about 2 weeks ago. Her husband was in Vietnam, and he had a really rough time in Vietnam. And she looks at me and she goes, "Eric, my husband was a prisoner of war his entire life. He brought Vietnam home with him, and he lived it every single day. Now, I'm a member of the Marine Corps League, a member of Band of Brothers up in the villages. I'm a member of several veterans groups. And when we have a big night, a mess night where we're going to have a dinner, we dress up in our uniforms or in suit and tie. We always set a table for the BOW and the MIA. And it wasn't until that lady explained to me that her husband was a prisoner of war since Vietnam. He was at home in the United States of America, but still a prisoner of war. It makes a whole different flavor when I hear prisoner of war now.
Yeah, that's why I really like what you do. I work with a lot of different organizations with PTSD and stuff, and one of the programs I did before was with a doctor trying to tell people that you come home from Vietnam, but your wife or your husband, whichever way it went, your wife was never there. So she doesn't know exactly how to understand you, because she's not walked in your shoes. And has not. So I encourage people to get help. And what you're doing here, I was so impressed when you were talking to my grandkids, telling them about that lady and the PTSD. And I'm a firm believer that we as adults, somewhat, have an obligation to teach our children, whether take them to a museum, some kind of course, a library or something. They need to know about what's going on, and people need to understand what these men and women have been through, You have a real passion for that. I saw that when I was up there with you.
So the way I explain it to people, because first of all, I don't like the D in PTSD because it gives an indication of a disorder, and it's not a disorder. It's a mental injury, and it's a mental injury to your subconscious. And when we see guys and gals that have come back from combat that are missing an arm or a leg or an eye, or they've got a physical deformity that you can see, you can tell they were combat wounded, but you cannot see the mental wounds. You can't understand the mental wounds, and they are so, it crosses so many different levels, and it can be something as simple as a noise or a smell. Smell is the closest to your memory. A smell can set off this. I had a guy, Potts. We do a parachute jump every year over in DeLand, and it's a tandem chute jumps where the veterans get to jump with a seasoned parachuter, and they get to do a parachute jump, but it's a tandem jump. And we get a plethora of different veterans up there, and one in particular was a guy named Potts. And Potts is telling me when he first got back from the desert, he's laying in his hospital bed, and he's looking at the clock. And every 7 minutes, he could push the button that would give him some pain relief. And he would push the button, and then he'd go 6 minutes 59, 58, and he's counting down to the next button push. That was his life for 3 months in the VA hospital.
Wow.
Now, the mental, you can't see. You can see the physical, but the mental you can't see and generally don't understand. There's 4 ways, as far as I know, and I'm not one of those doctors, that you imprint the subconscious. One is through repetition. If you're a military man or woman, you know what that means because on the first day in boot camp, they taught you how to walk. Take a 30-inch step with your left foot, sir.
Eric, I don't mean to interrupt, but we have to take a commercial break, so hold that thought.
All righty. We were talking about mental imprinting, and the 4 ways that I know of that it can happen. The one is, if y'all remember your first days in boot camp when you were learning how to walk, and the drill instructor, drill sergeant, whatever they say in the Air Force, the drill mom, she would say, just kidding, guys, forward.
He can't help himself.
I know, he's a Marine.
The drill instructor would say forward, and the whole platoon would say, take a 30-inch step with your left foot, sir. And then you would step, and then you take your next step. And what we're doing there is we're starting out at ground zero, and we're imprinting the behavior that we want. And we do that through repetition, 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 repetition. If you've been in martial arts, you practice the same movement over and over and over and over till you didn't have to think about it. What do we say in competition? You do it till you get it right, then you're good. You do it till you can't get it wrong, then you're great. And what we do is we mental imprint through repetition. The other way is initial imprint. The first time you've ever did it is an initial imprint. When you were growing up, you were taught how to brush your teeth. Your mom showed you the first time, and that was an initial imprint. And then you did it from there on in the same way. The other way is a substantial circumstance. You put your hand on the stove and you burnt your fingers. Probably not going to have to be told not to do that again, because that was a circumstance. And when we deal with PTSD, you have those circumstances in your subconscious. Your subconscious is not required to share that with your conscious. You ever been in a situation where you don't remember what happened? You were in a severe episode, but you don't remember everything that happened. But your subconscious got you through that, through things that you do. Now, what I have to do is teach people to do mounted shooting. You don't get sight alignment, sight picture, breathe, relax, aim, squeeze, stop, follow through. You got a 1,200-pound horse running wide open. You've got to see it and shoot it. It's got to be an instinctive thing. So we imprint you to do this without thinking about it.
Eric starts the clock, 16.410, clean. All right, next up.
And that's the mental imprint through the subconscious, to where when you walk into an arena to compete, you don't think about every shot. You don't think about every turn. You just ride it and let your subconscious communicate with that horse. It's incredible to watch. I've got some videos y'all can steal, and we're actually shooting this weekend in Lady Lake at the El Cross Ranch and Arena off Graves Airport Road.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. What time is it and all that? Is it 2 days or what?
Okay, so it starts at 0900 for the military folks, 9 o'clock a.m. for the civilians, and we will start out with a cavalry division, which is almost like reenacting the old cavalry days, where they'll have folks dressed as Union soldiers, some as Confederate soldiers, and they compete in a shooting competition with flap holsters and the uniforms on. Then we go into a main match. There's 87 different courses. 87 different courses. Now, people run barrels, and there's one course. We have 87 different courses to go through. There's 10 targets in the arena. 5 out of one gun, 5 out of the other, and we're shooting single-action revolvers. That means you got to pull the hammer back every time.
Got to cock it.
Old cowboy guns, right? And that's the competition. Now on Sunday it'll start at 9 a.m. and we shoot lever action rifles, and double barrel shotguns as well. But it's all mounted shooting. It's they're shooting blanks. Now the blank will kill a balloon out to 21 feet. 21 feet is it. That's why you don't have to call the ambulance every time somebody goes to the
in
green.
case they miss, right?
Right. But we do this every month up at Lady Lake. It's free to come in and watch. People come in and watch, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so incredible. I want to do this. And we get people all the time that have never rode a horse before that'll come out to my ranch, and I'll put them on one of my horses, and I'll teach them how to do it. Before too long, they're out competing all across the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You mentioned it's in Lady Lake, but you ought to give an address.
Okay, so it's El Cross Ranch and Arena, and I'll have to pull it up on my phone because I'm one of them guys.
Somebody said Griffin Street.
Or something like it's just up from Griffin Road, El Cross Ranch and Arena, and I'll get that for you. The address.
You can say Airport Road.
I don't know what I said.
I don't remember.
But anyway, in a little while, we're going to talk about all the different things you've got. You have a firing range there. You have the horses, and you do some fishing. You reach out to different organizations and groups come in. Is that right?
So I'll tell you what happened. I had 2 chaplains. I had a chaplain from Claremont PD and one from down in Davie came out to my ranch, and they wanted to see what we do, because they're going to be sending guys, out to us to help them deal with some of the things that they're dealing with. And they're like, Eric, you should start a 501c3 and do a nonprofit here, because you have the horses that'll handle this, and you got a great facility. I got a gun range, pistol range, a rifle range, a lake that we can fish in, a big arena that we can practice in, an obstacle course for horses. You got a
lot of land, right?
We're set up for this. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have 54 acres, but we use it. And the horses are all like you saw. We can lay down with them, do whatever we want. And I was never that guy. About 2 days later, I had a lady call me and said, if you want to be a 501c3, we can make that happen. And we can make that happen tomorrow. And she did. And I was under their umbrella for quite a while. Now we're under our own. But I was kind of like getting my feet wet to see if this is what I want to do. And guys, I want to tell you this. You know that feeling you get when you buy somebody a Christmas present and you can't wait for them to open it? It's like, oh man, they're going to be so excited. This is the greatest thing ever. And you're sitting there and you're waiting, and you just can't wait for them to open that package because you did something for them. Imagine a feeling 10 times greater than that for somebody you don't even know. People will come out there and they're just ate up with this, and then they'll call you the next day and say, hey, I had a Vietnam guy call me. He goes, Eric, I want you to know what we did out at your house 2 days ago was one of the top 5 favorite things I've ever done in my life. This guy's 77 years old. How blessed am I to be able to do that? That's incredible. Or you'll see somebody, they're in the beginning, they're just not getting it, and they're not getting it pretty soon. They're having the time of their life, and they call you a week later and say, I want you to know, when I was coming out to your house, it was going to be the last thing I ever did. I was planning to take myself out after that. But you gave me something else. You let me see there was something else to life. You let me realize who I really am and that my happiness is my responsibility. First time that happened for me that I actually got to explain that to somebody, I'm on Central Florida Parkway, downtown. It's, I guess, Altamont Springs. Traffic is backed up. I'm in my work truck. I look up ahead and I see, you remember those old Cadillacs look like a battleship? The things were just monsters, right?
With the big fins and everything.
Yes, sir. On this thing, it should have had USS Never Sail written on the side of it, okay? So I see this guy, an elderly feller, and he's got his hood up. So I pulled up next to him up on the sidewalk, and I said, sir, what's going on? He goes, I think my battery's dead. I got a new battery in my trunk, but I don't know how to put it in. I said, all right, well, I'll start looking at his vehicle. And now the cars are driving by, people are beeping horns and yelling out the window. And I start looking at it, and it's got corrosion around the battery post. So I think maybe we just have an issue with connection. So I start cleaning his post, and this guy drives by. He rolls his window down. He's got both middle fingers out the side window, and he is cussing. Like, remember Yosemite Sam?
Yeah.
This guy was Yosemite Sam in his heart out, and he is losing his mind. And that fellow looks at me, and he goes, why are you smiling? And I go, how blessed are we? And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, we're broke down here. I says, we're underneath the shade of a tree. I'm helping you with your car. We're having a good time. And this clown is having a really, really bad day. As a matter of fact, he's trying really hard to die lonely. Nobody with an attitude like that anybody wants to be around. And he goes, wow. And I go, yeah, our happiness is our responsibility. And he goes, I never thought of that before. This fellow was in his 80s at least, right? But it never occurred to him that his happiness is his responsibility. Just because he was in a situation like that doesn't mean it had to bother him. So we get his car, I get him cleaned up, put the post back on, he starts his car up, and it starts right up. And he goes, well, do I need a new battery? I said, sir, I'm not a mechanic. I just know that you had to clean your battery post and your car's running. And he goes, well, thank you. What do I owe you? I said, you don't owe me a thing. And he goes, hey, young man. I said, yes, sir. He goes, you taught me something today. You taught me something about life. Now, that's what I'm talking about. When you get an opportunity to touch people like that when they leave you, they have something they can take with them. And I always call it grooming spirits, because all of us have a spirit. We were at one of our veterans things down south, and we've got some of the top tier guys in the country in there, and we're having camaraderie, talking about things, and it's all PTSD related. And we got on spiritual, and it makes it around the room, and one of the fellas in the room says, I don't believe in none of that spiritual crap. Okay, cool. Well, we get around, and we're fixing to move on, but I can't move on from there. There is no way we're moving on from here yet. I said, freeze. Guys, I want you to understand something. And I looked at him. I said, you ever watch anybody die? And he goes, yeah. He says, you've seen people die, haven't you? He goes, yes. And I said, when you were looking in their eyes, did you see their spirit leave? When they just went gray and their spirit left their body? And he looked at me and he goes, yeah. And I said, that's spiritual. Now you know the difference. Without your spirit, you don't exist. That's who you are. This is just a body. This is just a heartbeat. Your spirit is what makes you who you are. And our job as adults is to help young people groom their spirit. Our job as people who deal with PTSD is to help people groom their spirit and help them deal with those spiritual injuries that they're packing around with them. And that's what I do at Spirit Equine Therapy. And I use 1,200-pound therapists to make that happen, because you are not going to bully a horse. You've got to ask for it, and you got to ask for it in a way they understand, and they will give you anything you want. But if you start beating on them, kicking on them, and treating them wrong, you won't have horses like mine. Yeah. That's what we do. We groom spirits at Spirit Equine Therapy. This is the only therapy place in the country that I'm aware of where the people can actually shoot off of horses. That's a big draw for Type A personalities. They want to be Wyatt Earp. They want to ride and shoot.
I want to be Pat Buttram riding a Jeep.
So at the end of the day, we got a draw. We've got horses and guns. And you say, Eric, isn't that kind of counterintuitive? We're trying to keep people from committing suicide, but you're going to give them a gun? No, it works the other way around. It doesn't make sense when you try to micromanage somebody else's health. Somebody else's mental health doesn't need to be micromanaged. We are all about doing the right thing for the right reasons and empowering people to heal their spirit through some of the stuff that we do at my ranch. It's incredible. Like I said earlier, you don't buy that feeling off the shelf at Walmart. It only happens because people like y'all donate and help me stay in business, help me feed my horses, help me run my ranch, and help me do what I do.
Speaking of which, you won't be there tomorrow, but Jane will be there. Well, you're the vice president. You want to, without giving away the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
What about it?
Where we going tomorrow?
We're going to, what do you call it? Spirit Equine Therapy Ranch. Is that what it's called?
Yes, sir. I like the way he put you on the spot like that.
Well, I try to keep him awake.
He's awake.
I don't listen.
But yeah,
See-
we have a committee. Tell them about it.
See, most people, see, like just now, he looks at my eyes. Because, when he sees my eyes, he knows he's getting feedback. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
You think I'm only...
we're going up to the ranch tomorrow.
So let me say something.
The
about
committee is going up. I should say, not just John and I.
that. So, John, I apologize. I did a surgery. They did a surgery on me over a month ago. And I just got cleared to ride, and I've got a stud colt that I'm fixing to win overall Saturday and Sunday on. I got big plans, and I wanted to be there for you guys, but I also need to be there for that horse.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Well, Jane's a lot prettier than you anyway.
She'll have 4 of our other people there as well. So y'all will have plenty of folks, and the horses will all be there with the exception of the stud and a horse we call Oops.
Oops.
Oops. That's my wife's shooting horse.
Oh.
Oops I'll tell you real quick.
Yeah, I was wondering if you would.
So we got Oops. He came to us and we had him on a 2-week trial. We drive across and you'll see there's a cattle gap into the property. And Oops is standing there at the window with his head turned this way. And we look as he turns his head, and he ended up getting 144 stitches across his head. He had split his head open. Oops.
How did he split his head open?
I believe he did it on I don't know if you've ever seen, in the country we have pump houses. It's a building that goes over your pump, your well pump, and it's got your cleaners and all that stuff in. I think he got it on the corner of that because it's metal. But he split his head open. Then she's watching him one day going to the barn, and he's doing that doop-de-doop like a Disney cartoon, and he walked right into the trailer. Bam! She goes, oops. So his name became Oops. That's his barn name. Oops. Stand by. You never know.
Now, this is your wife's horse?
Yes, sir.
So you put her on a horse that walks into the walls and everything?
I'm telling you, that she loves that horse. She loves that horse more than anything. And he's really good for her. She's a world champion competitor. She's a great shooter, and her and that horse got it together. So as long as they're not oopsing in the arena, I'm good.
There you go.
So you travel around, you said, right? You want to tell us a little bit about where you've been, what you do?
So in mounted shooting, there's clubs all over the country, just like barrel racing. There's one of the biggest clubs in the country is Ohio. We got clubs in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. We shoot in Vegas.
And we'll be back. Hold that thought, yeah. Today I'm at AmVets Post 2006, a major sponsor of Central Florida Salute, and I want to introduce to you the commander here, Ronnie Mack. Ronnie, tell us a little bit about AmVets 2006. Where are you located, and
We are at 500 North Canal Street, Leesburg, Florida. It's right off of 441, between 441 and Main Street on Canal. Can't miss us. And we're a veterans organization, along with, we have an auxiliary, and we have sons of veterans that are related some form or another to a veteran. And we do a lot for a lot of charitable donations and stuff to charities in the area and in the county, and we're a major sponsor to Central Florida Salute. We're proud of it. We're glad to be. You guys do a heck of a job, and we'll sponsor you as long as I'm here. We're going to sponsor you. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, we do. Sue and I really appreciate it. We're a two-person operation, and what we try to do with education and supporting our veterans community, and you supporting us is major thing. It's major.
We're glad to do it, Bob. We're glad to do it.
And you have sons here, you have auxiliary here. You've got a website too if somebody wants to join.
Yep. It's don't punch into www. It's ambets-2006.org, and it'll take you right to our website, Facebook page, and all that's there, and you'll be able to find that. The webmaster, he tries to get the calendar on there every month, anything pertinent. There's a lot of other links on there for veterans to find out where to get help for certain claims and stuff like that. Our webmaster's really into that stuff. That's the guy you ought to be interviewing right there. So,
well, you know what,
he's got
Ronnie?
a lot of stuff.
You have a lot of clout. You tell him to talk to me, and we'll get him on the show. Okay?
I can do that.
All right. But I just want to, on behalf of Sue and myself, we want to thank AMVETS 2006 because you guys are the major players behind us, and we appreciate it.
Well, we just wish we could do more. We really do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.